Okay, just a quickie. Earlier videos gone through the design history of Washington, the major architecture, the most influential architects. But here we see the Washington Monument, the world's largest obelisk, although it's not a true obelisk because it's made of many pieces. Now, a true traditional obelisk is one single piece of stone. This is not the case. You might even notice there's a slight change in color because of the construction sort of carried on to a point, and then they completed it. But a few other nice little like for the structure without is wholly an esoteric Masonic structure for many reasons, not in well, many reasons, including the larger city plan. But what we also have, so we're probably all familiar with. If you've been on the internet more than 5 minutes, you've probably heard a lot about Masons. He says a Masonic emblem, it's like a tracing board, which is basically it's like a roadmap through the stages of initiation, but also it shows these very important symbols of working with stone, timekeeping. There are both moral and industrial symbols here, like the compass. You see the compass and the square, geometry, the ruler. Again, the compass, the scales and plumb line, the level. So all of these are ancient the chisel and the trowel, as in tilers, acacia, and some other ancient symbols. But if we go back to, so this is a symbol of the independent order of Oddfellows. The Oddfellows, just as important as Masons are, but next to unknown. And their most important symbol here, you see the triple link. And but if you also like other Grand United Order, so there's the Manchester Unity and the Grand United, a little bit more as well. But again, triple link we see here, and also we see like the rod of Asclepius, of a brazen serpent of Moses, the beehive, the three columns, the dove, 7 stars around the moon, the all-seeing eye, and the fasces from ancient Rome, this ancient symbol of power. That's where the word fascism comes from, coincidentally, but the direct connection. Triple link, we see the G, so there is many levels of connection between Masons and Oddfellows. This is another Oddfellow chart. We see the cornucopia, or the horn of plenty, again an ancient symbol. Again, you see the beehive, the 3 columns, the dove. The ark will be attached with there, but the symbol, the enigmatic Oddfellowship symbols, they're essentially the same as what is to Freemasons to this day. But okay, so now back to the Washington obelisk, or the Washington monument, to call it proper. And what we have is dozens and dozens of plaques such as these. So the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, AYM. I'll leave some of it, but for Boston, Eureka Lodge 177, City of New York. This now, you notice this is the IOOF, Independent Order of Oddfellows. So along with the Masons, you're going to see and the Mechanics, but the Oddfellows and the Mechanics, or the Druids, are some of the lesser known so-called secret societies, are better known as fraternal lodges, mutual aid organisations. Up until the 1920s, they were essential in the operation of, so whether you wanted health insurance, home insurance, legal assistance, you would join a lodge, and that's a very, very big part of history, and the importance and the public service that these lodges provided. So, okay, health insurance, scholarships, widows insurance, even lines of credit, these types of things. You would join a lodge before now. Now we just get on the phone, call them up, and now we have the current health crisis or insurance crisis. Back in the day, and I'm sort of talking before the 1920s especially, the IOOF, Druids, Buffaloes, Knights of St. Christopher, these other fraternal lodges, organisations provided these services, and they're basically been written out of history because of the danger they pose to the establishment. Here we see the Masonic Grand Lodge, Illinois, I think 1854, the broken column, Saturn and the Virgin. Should be a Corinthian column, but if you can see, if it's a bit, you can see Corinthian columns there. The Whig Society, IOOF, Independent Order of Oddfellows, the Triple Link, and the Heart in the Hand. So one of the, or also the three columns. Now the IOOF again, Pennsylvania, Germantown. In token of respect for Washington as a Freemason, Grand Lodge of Ohio, IOOF with the triple links again. Now, so what these organisations as fraternal or lodge practice would be that once you joined a lodge, the lodge would hire a doctor, and so, for instance, you had access to a doctor. Also, often they would hire a pharmacist. And so by being a member of a lodge, whether it's Oddfellows, Druids, Templars, Buffaloes, etc., what you did was you had, health insurance, legal insurance, scholarship access, widows insurance, these types of, I think now they're taken for granted and they're run by corporations, and the Corporation of the City of New York. Temperance Society, the Temperance Society, probably most famous for being anti-alcohol, but they were also literally a fraternal organisation, a fraternal brotherhood or a society where they provided insurance again. And so just like the Oddfellows and just like Masons and Templars, they were mutual aid, self-help organisations. And just Mason's Park, you might notice this one even got Thoth here with this otherwise dressed as Saturn and or Kronos, and just Masons, Templars, Temperance. Union Society, or the Nativists would be another one as well. Very similar history in Australia, New York, Australia, America, Canada, and New Zealand, where prior to the big government of beginning with World War I, 1920s, all the insurance, social insurance services that we take for granted would have come through these agencies, and it just wasn't available any other way. And this is one big part of the untold history in regards to Oddfellows, Masons, Druids, Buffaloes, and these organisations. The Triple Link, the Athenian Lodge of Oddfellows in Troy, New York. Patmos Lodge. Okay, again, Mason symbols. The importance, when you would usually connect to Masonry, it would be on a grander scale, but there was many smaller independent lodges now, or mutual self-help organisations. And back in you could almost call it a golden age, and it's something we've lost, and that's one of the reasons why the usual suspects who speak out about these points, this would be my immediate reply to them, is why don't they speak about these points, and the principles that they're espousing are actually embodied by these organisations going back to the day. But Triple Link, Grant IOFF, Triple Link again. Yeah, whether it's Temperance, the Mechanics, Oddfellows, the Native or the United Sons here, Hibernian Society, the Sons of Worm and Moon. These are just some examples of all the journeymen as well, even the symbolism, compass and square. So what we would now just consider as standard Mason symbols that actually go across many different types of similar organisations which were founded from the craft guilds on the basis of mutual self-aid, and the fraternal lodge system, which has been a benevolent society is another name for them. Again, they would hire a doctor, and at a very low rate you would have medical access all year round. They would hire a pharmacist. They would work in together to buy quality products. So when they're buying the medicines, they would get together, buy in bulk, and also in the age of snake oil merchants, they would provide quality, high purity drugs, medicine, IOOF. Templars, from the Templars of the Honourable Temperance Society as well, so Temperance and Templars, love, purity and fidelity. This is a Sons of Temperance. Now again, the modern insurance companies, health insurance, home insurance, credit lines, were all born from these organisations at a time when the working man did not have access to these types of services. It came through this mutual aid lodge system, and it was basically in the 1920s, 1930s, especially USA, Canada, England, Australia, where the Australian Medical Association, or American Medical Association, basically conspired with the bankers and the governments to break up the lodge system and put it in corporate hands, because what's often called the first health crisis around about this time was that healthcare was too cheap and too accessible, and that doctors were competing with one another to get contracts to work for a lodge of working men, which was not appreciated by so many of them. But okay, so these symbols, which would be by the usual suspects be defined as evil, bloody blast, evidence of satanic, actually point to a very curious point in history, a point where the modern man, the common man, was able to pool his resources, pool his efforts, and was not reliant on the government for, he had a high level of healthcare, access to credit, insurance. All these basics we take for granted now were actually born from this period, and it was born pre-government. The triple link: faith, love, truth, or fidelity. Yeah. So, and not only that, these organisations expected you to attend so many meetings, expected you to engage in society, and it wasn't just about money coming out of the bank. So you would pay your yearly dividend, your yearly fee, that would be pulled together, and then pension funds, that type of thing, come out of that money. But the way the system worked, and the way that Masonic lodges still work now, is, for instance, if a member is ill, all the other members will come together and help him mow his lawn, cook his dinners, clean his house. So it's not just about the fraternal aid organisations were born out of literal fraternal aid, where I come to help you in time of need. And it grew into the corporations, insurance companies we know now. But back in the day, it was much more closer to hand, and it was much more than just getting a check for sickness benefits. In IOOF, triple link. Okay, so this is what these part of it. Now I've been promising for a while to do a long history of the Oddfellows and to go into it and to describe what Masons, Oddfellows, Druids, Templars, Temperance, and these organisations actually did, and they were anything but the evil. They were the absolute opposite of that. And those who proclaim to be experts on this particular subject, if they're not talking about this, either they don't know what the hell they're talking about, or they're agents of disinformation, because this has upset people before. They've come on and they've said, oh, I'm a Mason shill or whatever. However, then I've pointed them to this, and well, the evidence, not even the evidence, it's just a fact. It's not like arguing a case trying to prove we know that these things were in practice back then, and the Oddfellows, Masons, Temperance, Templars, Druids, Oddfellows, Buffaloes were mutual aid organisations. And there's even records going back to Roman times where emperors were very against these types of organisations, because they're a direct threat to power. And so, okay, the main theme you hear on the internet is Masons, Oddfellows, anything to do with this symbolism is bad. I would say the exact opposite. I say you've been bamboozled by the likes of Ike and Jones, who don't tell the truth. Or at least don't tell the full truth. Given their years and their resources, they should have been the ones talking about these things, but they're not. And again, I'll do a longer history in regards to this, but Masons, Oddfellows, these types of groups, huge importance, good influence. They've been taken over for the most part, but again, these symbols, these are anything